Hi, this is Chris Nielsen with Breaking Up with Fear. I'm here with Maria Horstmann and excited to hear her story about breaking up with fear. Maria, would you please introduce yourself?
Hi, Chris. Thanks. This is a pleasure to be here. Like Chris says, my name is Maria Horstmann. I am a little background, originally from Brazil, and I've been in the U.S. in Atlanta, Georgia for the last 24 years, and love being here in this country. I have all my family, all my peeps over there down in the South. And over here in the US, I've been spending the last several years as a health and wellness coach and personal trainer, really in a mission to empower those stressed out folks and the sugar and carb lovers to optimize weight and their health so they can really rediscover, their vitality, their happiness, and lead a fulfilling life. This is my mission, really. So I kind of, work with individuals, groups, and families and corporations to help. And I've been doing online for a very long time. So we are in August 2020. There's a pandemic. And I've been continuing to help folks virtually and in person if they want. But I'm slowly get back in person, continue online.
Well, Maria, thank you for sharing your mission. I love your passion. And can you tell, what was the story that you wanted to tell me that we were talking about earlier?
Yeah, so I want to say that my one of the key stories that I want to share here is a multifaceted story. It's about is the freedom for losing my freedom, and freedom. What I mean is also independence. Look, I have my values, and my value number one is freedom. The moment I feel like it is taking that away, that I don't have, choices or options to do things in my life, especially the things that I love, that is come to my core. Freedom, is going to give me the ability to do all those things, including to take care of myself, which health is my second value. So in this fear story is like it came, I'm 45 now, I'll be 46 in a couple months. And this happened, I was about 36. I had just finished my MBA at Emory, and I was continuing to grow my ladder in the corporate world in finance. And I was successful at a 6-figure job, happy, like I said, single and traveling and doing all those things that I love. And then it came into and, there's multiple circumstances that this happened, but I had a little self check-in. And you probably have seen those commercials of this older women that fall into the kitchen and they're trying to reach out for a beeper or something, and they're like crawling basically and looking in despair alone in the house.
Yeah.
Happened. Plus, my mom had just asked me, are you dating anybody? Start blah, blah, blah in my ears, that kind of stuff. And I says, no, Mom, I'm not dating anybody. Haven't found anybody. Well, you're going to get old and alone and all that kind of stuff. And I said, Mom, I know that. So, so I hang up the phone with my mom, and I remember thinking, it says, yes, I'm pretty confident the path I'm taking and who I want in my life as a partner. But let me take a deeper dive. So I went into those things, and that's where the fear started. It's like a little bigger. It says, okay, alone, right? Family's far away, no kids, no companionship. In my 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever the age that God allows me to be in here, friends, most of them are going to have their families. They're going to be busy. They're going to be old too. And I'm like, okay, hold on. So I'm alone now. And who makes a phone call, right? Who these days grab the phone, with friends and all that, they're calling and coming in person to knock the door? The UPS guy, maybe the FedEx guy. That's about it. And they leave the package and walk away. So, I'm like, holy crap. I'm like, what's this all about? And then I started thinking about my body. I had,
So that question by your mom scared you and got you to think about all those different things?
Well, I had already thought, I was pretty confident about what I wanted in a partner and what I could deliver, because I had a pretty serious breakup in 2005, and that led me to depression and really to evaluate, what I wanted in a person, what I could give. But, so I was confident on that, and I was not willing to kind of set apart. I was just, no, this is the person, because if this doesn't go in, it's almost like a checklist, a mental checklist that you have. I don't know if guys do that, but I know a lot of like Do that? Yes. Tolerable, non-tolerable. Literally, that's what I had in my mind, Non-tolerable, I don't care if you have 99 tolerable. To me, it's like, so, but really she came so strong about it, you're going to be alone. I mean, have you thought about it? I have no kids. And she actually at the time said, you don't have to be married to have a kid. And that to me, and it says, Mom, with all due respect, and it says, this is not what I want, because I was raised by her by herself, and she did a phenomenal job, raising 3 kids basically on her own. But I felt as I grew up, I missed having a dad, a father. And my father was far away in the picture. I would talk to him once in a while. That's it. But I didn't have a male figure, right? So neighbors would be male figures, whoever else. And then men, actually, I grew as a teenager. Most of the people who I worked in corporate, that really were significant in my life, they were male figures. And it's something interesting. I don't know, how I resonate with that. But yeah. So that day, triggered a lot of thoughts, a little bit more, that I decided to let's think about it. Do I need to go after a partnership, or am I okay? So that led me then to going through, okay, how is my mother's health? Terrible. My mom, since her 40s, she had arthritis and she had stomach ulcers. I remember, I'm talking to you, and I can remember the pain, the fear that we had as a family, because she was not doing well. We thought it was cancer. My sister was a nurse at the time, and back and forth, with all this kind of stuff, and then back pain. And then, move forward, my mom now has, for many years now, her arthrosis, which is no cartilage in the knees and the spine. She has osteoporosis for at least 15 years. Ooh. She had an aneurysm in 2009. I jumped out of a plane and I went home. And she, she's been suffering with long issues for many years. So right there in coma, the doctor told me, says she can die of aneurysm or pneumonia, and we cannot do anything right now. So she got a second chance kind of thing, I guess. This aneurysm impaired her memory, but really and I look at my mom today, and at the time it wasn't that terrible, 9 years ago, in 2000, and when I was 36, this was 2011, 2012. It wasn't, the osteoporosis wasn't as severe as it is today, but she was always in pain. I grew up with mom complaining, pain, pain, pain. I didn't want any of that, and today is even worse. I mean, she can barely walk. And I says, oh my God. And she's just she's going to be 76 this year.
So was that your big push to make a difference in your life, make different decisions?
Oh yeah. I mean, absolutely. And that's why, when I went through this process, my fear of losing my independence, that's what's linked to. And I says, I got to do something. And I was, later forward, as I start diving into my health, right? Because I really decided, okay, I got to take a look at this, because I had a severe sugar addiction. I've been, GI and digestive issues all my life. I had, a level of emotional eating and eating disorder. I would overeat, and I would throw up to control my weight. So the weight has been a problem, kind of up and down, and psychological things. So there was a lot of baggage that I never confronted until I start thinking about what is it to age and not end up, for example, like my mom, that I can end up with my independence, that I can choose, that I can go to the parks, that I can travel, meet people, do the things that I love, get into a car and drive, go to a park and walk, hike, all those things that I love to do. So what is going to take, alone, considering the worst case scenario, like I started in the beginning saying. And I says, it's health. And then as I start diving into, research, I became a geek, man. And I was straight into it and started reading all kinds of stuff. So I went into health summits. I mean, I was like, wow, spending a ton of time. And I figure it says, it's not health, actually. It's a healthy lifestyle. And that encompasses multiple, aspects of health. Yes, nutrition. My nutrition was awful, terrible. Okay.
So what's your nutrition like now?
Oh, my nutrition like now is I'm not a vegan. I do eat some animal protein, but it's smaller amounts, but it's mostly plant-based, but it's balanced, right? So I really look into what does my body need. I do also, blood chemistry analysis. So I dove into as a practitioner now, right? Not in the beginning. So I look into my blood and look into what my system needs. I also do genetic testing. So I went and I found deficiencies. Hence, I discovered why my addiction for sugar was so severe. Hey, look, and I can turn this on in a minute. If my diet is poor, if my sleep is poor, if my stress is is very elevated.
Then you want sugar again?
Oh yeah, I mean look, by the brain, it's a powerful. This guy over here inside is one of the it is the most powerful thing we have. So my goal for myself and for my clients is to help them to control this. So that includes your mindset, your mindfulness. What are you thinking, right? What you're telling to yourself, what kind of things, what kind of habits are you building, or ditching or want to build? What are those goals? So all those things have to come first. And then we have to support with nutrition that is balanced, macronutrients from, leafy greens, from lots of vegetables. If you do animal protein, be very, cautious about the quality. It's about quality of animal protein and quantity. And healthy fats. Fats are necessary for the brain. 60% of the fat of the brain over here is fat. So, and the brain, uses about 20% of the glucose in the body. So imagine if you're eating crap like I was, I was not so much into fast food, but I was into animal protein, cheese, and sugar, and some products. That was about it. There's no grease, no nothing, into my diet. And so the brain is constantly going to say, I need, but you're not giving the minerals and the nutrition and the vitamins. So what's going to be is going to say, I need something quick to get me here, Maria, to be alert and stay at work and all this. So your brain's going to go into the quickest stuff, which is sweets, right? Or simple carbs from the pastry or even the pizza, whatever that is. So the brain is talking to us all the time. And we are just like, I didn't know jack about this stuff, right? I was just going with the flow, and I thought I have a lot of energy. My energy was fake.
So from early on, so you looked at your mom and your mom's life and you say, I want to keep my freedom, my independence. I need to make a change with my health. And so you started to research and figure all these things out. And then that took you out of your corporate life into doing what you do now?
Yeah. So it was, this was in 2012. I had a CFO who was, I think she was the, the breaking point for me, because I was already thinking, I says, well, okay, I'm going to do this one day. This health coaching thing was going to happen one day, but far away. I was not thinking anything close, right? I had just got my MBA in 2010 and continue my ladder of growing. And I liked that job, but that CFO, this is what's going to take for a woman to be empowered. That's what I question. And I says, I don't want that life. And I says, I was going to work nervous, and really stressed out to the max when I was around this person and all this kind of stuff. And I says, this is not what I want, right?
What was her life like that you said, no, I don't want any of that?
How we were treated as employees, right? Mm-hmm. That's the thing. I mean, the stress around it and how she expressed her power over us, it was not acceptable to me. Where made the whole department stressed out. It's like, you don't want to go to work. I always loved going to work. I mean, I was great at what I did, and I was very dedicated, employee, loyal, and I transformed that to my business now. But, I'm like, I don't want this. I don't want this. So those kind of events made me think. And then a former CFO say, hey, how are you doing over there? I got a new gig over here. Take a look. And I said, let me tell you what I don't want. I don't want this, that. I said, no, take a look. You have a job, come for an interview and see it. And I decided to change the job, right? And came and moved different boundaries around it. the company started going south, very quickly after I start. And then I had to make a decision. What do I do? This is 2014 now. And it says, what am I going to do? Do I, go back into the grind, finding a new job? Because I was going to be laid off. The company was going south. And, or do I consider this thing? For months, Chris, months, I was a nerve wreck. The fear of leaving my career, and look, I mean, it's not only a career. There's thousands and thousands of dollars and hours and sweat, there's expectations. There's things that people believe that you gotta do, right? Why am I leave a career, successful career, making six figures, all that, to start something that is totally opposite, right? But it was so big in my heart because I knew at that point, and it says, I had transformed a ton of my health already in my life, in my lifestyle, and I says, I want to help people. I know I can do this. So I went for months, about 6 months into this chaos, and eventually I took the leap of faith and I said, you know what? I'm 40 years old. I had just turned 40, and I says, I have education, I'm smart, I can always go back. I need right now to go and try this. I need to see if this is for me or not.
And so the pull was so big that you let go of the corporate job and the security there. You said, I got to go do this on my own. But I love what you said. It said, I've got the education. I can get that back if I want it back, but I'm going for this.
Yes, I'm going for this because it was like I felt, it was debate. I used to cry about this decision and the fearances. And I remember talking to one of the owners of the certifications that I, was about to take. And he said, do not leave your job. He says, do not leave your job. Says you can, do the certification while you have a job and build this much because I've done a budget. It says I don't have enough cash over here in the bank to leave right now and do all this stuff. Consider it's a slow pace to get on it. And he says, don't do this. And what did I do? I did it. And I went again. So you can imagine the stress and the fear of losing it all because comfortable. All this.
I want to know, why didn't you listen to the person that said, that you've got the fear of moving, but you got to do it while you're doing that? Why didn't you do that? Why did you go all in?
I went all in because I want to say that this was probably the most, I'm very practical person. I'm very rational person. Finance is A, B, and C, right? That kind of stuff. And I used to not make much decisions, emotional decisions. And this one, the anxiety of starting all over again with a new company, having to prove myself and working the 12, 15 hours a day while following what my heart was saying.
Yeah.
So my brain was saying, this is crazy. This is crazy. My heart was saying, you got to do this for yourself. And you got to take, this, it was really an emotional driven decision because it was against my brain. And for once I did take that leap of faith. It was the anxiety was taking over. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yep.
And I don't know how to better explain this, but I remember sitting down and thinking about this, and I couldn't talk to my family about it. I was basically making this decision practically alone, 100% alone.
Did you have any support in this decision at all?
No, I didn't. I didn't get any support because my family, and even after I left, I told them I left. There was no discussion about this because everybody was against it, right? Are you crazy to do this? This is not a good decision. Why are you going to do this? It took months, until I had a conversation and, about it, and then prove me that I shouldn't have talked to them. And I says, because in reality, and this goes to health and lifestyle, because when we're making decisions like I did, there is going to be a lot of people pulling you away. Look, I changed my relationships with friends. I changed about every aspect of my life because I had to fuel myself with positive things, you see, because there is enough negative that you and I can think and introduce to our lives, right? I couldn't afford more of that. There's no way I wanted to afford more of that. And I says, I know how crazy it is. I have to think about it, have to educate, I have to take the time, and I have to, bounce a little bit the head with the heart and see where this goes. So I basically cleanse my life, and there is a fear that came in the middle of this whole path after I left corporate, because I was continuing to cleanse the relationships I had. It says there is a loneliness and there is the isolation part of it. But what is key over here is that when we cleanse our relationships to, in this case, to bring more positive, to be more aligned with my values, to where I was going, the direction, we build new relationships that are healthier, that actually are going to continue helping us to thrive in that area.
So and those new relationships came into your life then?
Of course, because what I surrounded myself, but I took action. The whole thing about fear, Chris, that I learned at the time, and I learned even more, as I continue my career in the coaching, is fear. What is literally fear? Is us putting a negative outcome of something that is not in our hands. We are formatting like a disc, like the old days, the disc, right? We're formatting that disc to be a negative outcome. And then it says, how do I stop that? Because the past is going to help us to create some, formulation, some, expectations for the future, right? Based on our past. But we can also change that past. We can reflect about that past, right? Because that's the same thing I did with my mom. I don't want that. And then my past was full of issues. And I says, how do I stop that so that doesn't give me the fear of this aging, this freedom that I was saying, I don't want this, is to be in the moment. So when we're in the moment, it's action. And that's what I did. And that's what I recommend, for the listeners and for anyone looking in, when they think about the fear and says, what can I do right now? Because the action is what's going to take. So I went to study. I went to apply then what I was studying. A lot of reflection. I come to Jesus conversation that I had a very serious one at the time, and you say, okay, I'm educating myself. I'm gaining knowledge now.
And did the education you were giving yourself reduce your fear then?
The education to a certain point doesn't reduce the fear. Okay, the education gives us tools. What reduces the fear is taking action.
So you're taking action, having a purpose that pulled you, bringing more positive people into your life that supported you in this mission, started to bring your fear down.
Yeah, and the people to support in my life, to be very honest, became through these trainings that I got. Because whoever went to the training, nutrition endocrinology, and, not so much in the personal training, but all that, those are people who are very much aligned into a healthy lifestyle, into a holistic health lifestyle like I was going. So the energy in that circle is extremely powerful. And then what happened is in my circle outside, in a personal, let's say, became like, who is aligned when I have a conversation, with that? Can I have a conversation of this and discuss these things that are meaningful? Because I'm not like, some people have like this blah, blah, blah level. I call levels of conversation. 1 is very superficial. How you doing? 2 is like, oh yeah, how is the family? 3, you start diving into yourself. And then there's the 4 and 5 that you're deep. I'm more like a deep conversation person. I go to level 3 very quickly. Even if I get at a bar stool, sometimes I get at the house, and I go someplace else. Not so much now, but I still do it. But you see what I'm saying? I go to that and say, who can I have that kind of level conversation? Because that's what inspires me. That's what gives me energy.
Yeah. And that kind of, the surface level conversations don't give you much connection. They don't make you feel good. It's the deep relationships and deep conversations that give you that connection and feel good.
Right. And we are all driven by connection. And, talking to my sister, and she's older than me, 9 years older, and she's also not married. It seems like we're not going to get married. God knows. If the right.
You have a fear around that, or what's your fear like around that?
So let me tell you this about 2-3 weeks ago. I have a friend of mine, Larry, And Larry was 68 years old, and he's been single for many years, you know, and so we met actually in a restaurant, and we became, friends. And throughout this pandemic, I did like so again, bringing social connectivity, I did what's called, storytelling, laughter, and a brunch. So on a Sunday mornings, every week we're kind of getting together, and Larry's always showed up. All day, Larry didn't show up. Larry didn't show up the second time, and I'm thinking about Larry all the time. Making the story short, one day I go to Facebook, I don't spend too much time on the personal stuff. There's a lot of education and stuff that I do there, but in business. And then there was Larry, and I read, it was his sister, on his behalf. Larry had died, okay? And I'm not going to get into the details, but it impacted me greatly. And so unfortunately, his sister came to say that, Larry did the autopsy, I guess they did, or it was natural causes of alcoholism. And look, I knew Larry, but I didn't know that alcohol was that terrible thing. And she goes into the discussion how Larry was lonely, right? And really brought me to thinking. It says, first of all, I felt terrible because I thought about him many times, because he stopped showing up the Sundays. And, the busy, crazy lives that we do. And sometimes we forget to. It says, hold on a second, listen, my gut speaks so greatly. And when I go against my gut, it's not good. And I had that feeling to check in on Larry, And he has done some work with me as a personal trainer, for his flexibility, mobility. So we knew, and he was always commenting on my stuff, and all of a sudden, no Larry. And made me think, and I says, oh my God, that it brought me back in when I was 36 years old, thinking about lonely, no family, no kids, no nothing. That was family. That was Larry.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy crap. And then made me think, do I need to rethink, about this partnership? And to me, Chris, I believe that when's the right time is going to be the right time. Am I putting myself out there? Hey. No, I'm not doing that. I'm a coach. I'm involved. I'm an extrovert. I go places. I talk to people. And if the right person's going to show up, is going to show up. That's what I believe. And to me, I stay focused really on the mission that I have for myself and for, others, which really continue to live a life that I thrive. And I don't have those fears of, getting into, like my best friend, I told her this, says, well, you're not Larry. You're not getting to the alcohol. You're not. And it says, I know, but it's kind of sad. It is kind of sad. Here's this man that during the pandemic, all of a sudden, apparently his thing was to go to bars and have wine, whatever, and to meet his peeps, right? That was where he combated this loneliness. And it says, holy moly, what am I going to continue to do over here to not get into a Larry situation? So, my answer is still the same. I'm not going to go out chasing men, but it reinforces my drive to help to stay healthy, stay committed to what I do. And from a stress perspective, from a sleep perspective, from, exercise perspective, to keep my brain sharp, especially that's where exercise involves the most, in my nutrition. Do I have a glass of wine once in a while? Yes, I do. Is that impact me? I know how much is going to impact me. I know my boundaries, and I know how to control this. I have the supporting system, but not everybody sometimes can do that. People go into the healthy lifestyle, think, oh, moderation. Says, I know that my moderation in sugar is almost none. I have to be very careful because,
almost no sugar in your life right now?
When I do a glass of wine, or if I decided to go really bad, what I call a bad girl, I have like a sangria or something like that. That's it. You don't find any sugar in my house. I don't buy it. The sugar is going to come from that. And it's once in a while because it triggers. When I did the genetic testing that I mentioned on myself, I was my own guinea pig. I found out why, and it says, everybody should know this. Everybody should do this. because I have so genetics do not define us, okay? That is prior. There's pre-common sense now, although some people listening to this think that, oh, I have this in my mom, I have this in my family, I'm predisposed to this. Yes, but genetic is 5 to 10%, even in cancers, okay? Our lifestyle, okay? And talking about nutrition is stress because it impacts all our hormones. The sleep impacts all our hormones, exercise, and even, the mode and toxicity, all, and there is a lot of layers underneath, right? So the genetics is a portion, and it's almost like this when you have the genes, right? Am I going to poke those genes or not? And that is what the lifestyle is doing. So the epigenomics and nutrigenomics is what is the science to help us dive. There, I discover I have several in my brain, which is a beautiful thing. I have imbalances in dopamine and in serotonin and GABA. And I have predispositions for breast cancer with caffeine, and I have several other things. And thyroid, which has always had issues to control my weight. So and there is gluten sensitive. All that I saw in my genetics, and I says, what am I going to do to not poke those genes? You see the importance of this?
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. You get the genetics, man, and you get the blood work, what I do in a functional perspective, which is a little different than the normal from the doctors. You have a powerful tool over here to say, hey, I'm going to take control of this. You discover those things and you empower yourself. And that's how I see some people, they do this, Chris. They don't want to hear, they don't want to listen, they're not ready, right? Some people like me, until back then, until I was at that point in 36, I was ignorant. Ignorance is not a stupidity. Stupidity is when you know and you continue to do something, especially if it's harmful. The ignorance is like, you don't know until you know. Mm-hmm. So when you shut your ears, when you shut your eyes over here, you continue to not know. So that does not put you in a pressure zone of, if I know, what am I going to do about it? Right? Oh my God. So the action is required to change. And action, Chris, requires really us to change. And in order to change, you have to be in a mindset, that it says there is something bigger than this little concept of being healthy and aging. Just, it has to be really big to drive us to actually take the actions day after day to change.
So you help people find a bigger purpose, a bigger reason to take these actions on a daily basis.
Yes, well, a lot of folks come to me. I do what is called an energy audit, right? And that's a consultation that I do, for free to identify if there is a fit here. Why is driving them to search for help now? And some people, I say, this is not urgent enough for you. You just want to get that lose weight, to get the bikini, or because this and that and that, and a lot of times comes into a level of conversation. And I keep diving to find out what is that why. Because if they see the why, if they actually discover, a lot of people discover, I never thought about this, I never thought about that. And then they now become, the drive to do this is bigger. And then you have a coach that is going to guide you, that's going to help you remove this debris, right? So my job as a coach is, here's your point A, here's your point B where you want to get. There is a lot of stuff going on over here in the middle, A lot of it is the stress in life. So what are the life stressors? How can we put mechanism over here to help minimize this? Because we can never get rid of stress. We can manage it. What kind of strategies we're going to do? So then we start with the basics. A lot of times people start losing weight, Chris, from doing very little in their nutrition, is actually finding the control that what they're doing is so powerful and it's going in the right direction. It requires some patience. But when you have that big why, man, and my job is to always bring people to that why, bring the why, and they're like, yes, I got it. I give them the accountability, the support, the guidance from the nutrition and all these other lifestyles. And we start making steps. And that's when the transformation helps, when you have those aha moments that you're like, oh my God, this is powerful. And that is where I like to work the most. You know, some people come for me just for personal training, right? And that's fine. And I still gotta dive into why. And sometimes I gotta remember, and it says, look, all this stuff that you're doing for your muscles, you're trying is, you know, you're not achieving much because your nutrition is poor or your stress level, which is basically breaking down your muscle tissues because of lifestyles and timing and things like that. You know, you're not allowing you to achieve your goals. So, you know,
So Maria, I want to ask you this is, so if in this pandemic, how can someone reach you if they wanted to connect with you?
yeah, so they can reach me. They can go to my website, and that is bfabbu.com. Is that BEFABBEYOU.com. There you can, you know, reach. You have my phone number in there, and you can download a freebie, you know, a mini cleanse, whatever. There's other things. You can actually schedule an appointment and like a consultation, like I was saying, to have a discussion and see if there is a fit for me to help the individual in different levels. And so, yeah, and then I have social media from the website too. You can follow all that.
I love BFABBU. I like that as a website. BFABBU. Now, can you do this in 1 minute or less? What would you tell someone in this, you know, because in this pandemic, I don't hear a lot of talk about how do you raise your immune system. So what would you tell someone out there that's just watching this and just wants a boost in their immune system?
Look, the immune system is highly destroyed by stress, okay? So if your life is very stressful, I would say you gotta pile up in some supplementation, at least to help minimize that. So from vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin A, and zinc. Those are 4 basics ones that we kind of highlight. But really, I'm begging individuals during this time to kind of minimize the stress. Think about gratitude. You start journaling. You start having, you know, go and be the best you can to kind of get a social outlet, you know, from this talking to people to going maybe for a walk, talking to the neighbors, continue your social distance and all that. But all those things are going to minimize the stress. There is a hormone in the body called oxytocin. It's the cuddle hormone. It's an anti-inflammatory hormone, but it's also a stress hormone. But it's a stress in the heart that lead us to seek, you know, companionship and social. So don't, you know, my recommendation, don't go against that. You know, do the best you can to continue these connections. The connection is going to help minimize the stress, which is going to keep our digestive system healthy and our immunity healthier. So pile up on that, you know, and some of the supplementation to help. Those are a couple things that they can do.
That's wonderful.
Anyway, I cannot leave this. Is, you know, exercise. Exercise, it is the one of the most transformative things for your brain, which is going to allow us to make better decisions and control the stress. So do not stop moving ever, ever, ever.
I agree with you there. Exercise changes my life and day. Thank you so much for sharing with people. Please reach out to Maria if any of this resonates with you. Let's get healthier out there, and because that will make us feel better and be able to get through our fears. I think part of that is the other fears are compounded by our lack of health. So,
correct.
Yeah. So thank you so much for sharing that, Maria.
You're welcome.